Look at that empty strip of dirt running along your fence, or that sad little patch of lawn you've been mowing for 10 years and getting nothing back from. Right now it's growing nothing but grass and maybe a few weeds you keep yanking out. Stop pulling those weeds for a second, because what you're standing on is wasted real estate, and in the next 20 minutes I'm going to hand you a list of 15 plants that don't just sit there looking pretty, they heal cuts, calm upset stomachs, knock out headaches, fight off colds, help you sleep, and quietly replace half the bottles in your medicine cabinet. Here's my promise to you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 15 herbs deserve a spot in your garden, what each one actually does for your body, how it's traditionally been used, what to watch out for, and how ridiculously easy almost all of them are to grow, even if you've killed every houseplant you've ever owned. No greenhouse needed, no special soil, no years of experience, just seeds, dirt, and a little sunlight. Explained the way I wish someone had explained it to me before I spent years buying dried herbs in tiny expensive jars from the grocery store. So if you've ever wanted a garden that actually works for you instead of just looking nice from the sidewalk, stick with me. This is the list. Why medicinal herbs belong in every garden. Before we get into the 15, you need to understand why this matters, because if you skip this part, you'll just treat these like decoration instead of using them. Humans relied on these exact plants for thousands of years before pharmacies existed. Every culture on Earth, from ancient Egypt to traditional Chinese medicine to European folk healers, built entire systems of care around the plants growing right outside their door. The compounds inside them, the oils, the antioxidants, the natural compounds that fight inflammation and bacteria, those didn't disappear when modern medicine showed up. They're still sitting there in the leaves, the flowers, and the roots, just waiting to be used. And here's the part most people don't realize. Medicinal herbs are some of the toughest, lowest maintenance plants you can grow. Most of them evolved on rocky hillsides, dry meadows, and poor soil, which means they survive drought, neglect, and bad weather far better than your average vegetable. That toughness translates directly into low maintenance for you. You're not signing up for a second job. You're signing up for a few pots or a small bed that basically takes care of itself, while quietly stocking your home with natural remedies you'd otherwise be paying $10 or $15 a jar for at the store. One more thing before we start. None of these herbs are meant to replace real medical care for serious conditions, and if you're pregnant, nursing, on medication, or managing a chronic illness, talk to a doctor before relying on any of these as treatment. Think of this list as support for everyday, minor stuff, not a replacement for your doctor. With that said, let's get into the 15. Number 1. Peppermint. Start here because peppermint might be the single most useful herb you can grow, and it solves problems almost everyone deals with. A cup of peppermint tea after a heavy meal can ease bloating, nausea, and stomach cramps almost immediately, because the menthol inside it relaxes the muscles of your digestive tract. Crush a leaf and inhale it, and you'll notice your sinuses open up within seconds, which makes it a go-to during cold and allergy season too. Some people even rub a diluted drop of peppermint oil on their temples to take the edge off a tension headache. Grow it in a container, not the open ground, because peppermint spreads aggressively through underground runners and will take over an entire bed if you let it. Give it partial shade, regular water, and it will reward you with growth so fast you'll be harvesting within weeks. Just one caution, peppermint in large amounts can worsen acid reflux for some people, so if that's an issue for you, keep your cup small. Number 2. Chamomile. This is the herb for anyone who struggles to wind down at night. Chamomile flowers, dried and steeped into tea, contain compounds that bind to the same receptors in your brain that calm anxiety and promote sleep. It's also gentle enough to soothe an upset stomach or settle a fussy mood after a long day, which is exactly why it's one of the few herbal teas given to children for centuries. A cooled chamomile tea bag pressed against tired, puffy eyes is an old trick that still works. Plant it in full sun with well-drained soil and don't overwater it. Chamomile actually does better when you're a little neglectful, and within a couple of months you'll have a carpet of small white and yellow flowers ready to pick and dry. If you have a ragweed allergy, be cautious here. Chamomile belongs to the same plant family and can occasionally trigger a similar reaction. Number 3. Lavender. Beyond the famous calming scent, lavender has real, documented effects on anxiety and sleep quality when used as tea, in a bath, or simply crushed and inhaled. It's also been used for centuries to disinfect minor cuts and soothe insect bites when the oil is dabbed directly on the skin. A small sachet of dried lavender tucked under your pillow is a remedy that's been passed down for generations, and there's actual research now backing up why it works. Lavender wants exactly the opposite of rich, wet soil. Give it sun, gritty, well-draining ground, and don't baby it with water, and it will reward you with years of fragrant purple blooms. This is also one of the easiest herbs to dry and store, so a single healthy plant can keep you stocked for months. Number 4. Echinacea. When the first scratch of a sore throat hits you in cold season, echinacea is the herb people reach for. Studies suggest it can shorten the duration of colds and support your immune system when taken as the first symptoms appear, usually brewed as a tea from the dried root or flower. Native American communities used echinacea for wound healing and infections long before it became a staple in modern health food stores. It's a hardy perennial that loves full sun and tolerates poor soil without complaint, and the tall purple cone flowers it produces are just as useful for pollinators as they are for your immune system. It typically takes a full season to establish before the roots are mature enough to harvest, so think of this one as a long-term investment in your garden. Number 5. Calendula. This bright orange flower is essentially nature's first aid kit. Calendula has natural anti-inflammatory and antibacterial properties, which is why it's been used for generations in salves and ointments to speed up the healing of minor cuts, scrapes, and burns. Infused into oil, it becomes the base for homemade skin balms that soothe dry, irritated, or chapped skin. Calendula grows almost anywhere, tolerates poor soil, and blooms continuously through the season if you keep picking the flowers, which actually encourages it to produce even more. It's also one of the easiest herbs to grow from seed, making it a perfect starting point if you're brand new to gardening. Number 6. Lemon balm. If anxiety or restlessness is your problem, lemon balm is one of the gentlest, most effective herbs you can grow. It belongs to the mint family and carries a similar calming effect to chamomile, often used to ease tension, support digestion, and even take the edge off a headache when brewed as tea. Historically, it was even rubbed on bee stings, hence part of the reason it earned the nickname the bee plant. Like peppermint, lemon balm spreads aggressively, so a container is your best friend here. Give it partial sun and regular water, and it will practically grow itself, often coming back thicker every single year once it's established. Number 7. Sage. Sage has a long history as a sore throat remedy, often gargled as a strong tea to reduce inflammation in the throat and mouth. It also has antimicrobial properties that make it useful for supporting oral health and calming an upset stomach. In many traditional kitchens, sage tea was the very first thing reached for the moment someone in the house started coughing. This is a drought-tolerant, sun-loving perennial that genuinely thrives on neglect. Once established, sage can survive weeks without water and still come back strong every season, and its woody stems mean it actually gets more attractive and full with age rather than leggy and worn out. Number 8. Thyme. Thyme contains thymol, a compound with strong antiseptic and antimicrobial properties, which is why it's been used for centuries to ease coughs and chest congestion when brewed into a strong tea or used in a steam inhalation. Some people add a few sprigs to a bowl of hot water and breathe in the steam to help clear a stuffy chest during a cold. It's another Mediterranean herb that wants sun, sandy soil, and very little water. Overwatering is the only real way to kill thyme, so when in doubt, leave it alone. A single thyme plant can spread into a thick, low mat that doubles as ground cover, giving you both medicine and landscaping in one. Number 9. Rosemary. Beyond seasoning your dinner, rosemary has been studied for its ability to improve circulation and concentration, and the scent alone has been linked to improved memory and alertness when inhaled. A rosemary-infused oil is also a traditional remedy for soothing sore muscles, often massaged into the skin after a long day of physical work. Give it full sun and soil that drains well, and be patient. Rosemary grows slowly at first, but eventually becomes a sturdy, woody shrub that can survive for years with almost no attention. In warmer climates, it can even grow tall enough to shape into a small hedge, giving your garden structure as well as remedies. Number 10. Yarrow. Yarrow has a reputation as the herb you reach for when you're bleeding, because crushed fresh leaves applied directly to a small cut can help slow bleeding and speed up healing thanks to its natural compounds. It's also brewed as a tea to help ease fevers and colds, and it's earned nicknames like soldier's woundwort throughout history for exactly this reason. This is one of the toughest plants on the list, tolerating poor soil, drought, and neglect, while still producing flat clusters of white or pink flowers all summer long. It also attracts beneficial insects to your garden, so it's quietly doing double duty as both medicine cabinet and pest control. Number 11. Holy basil, also known as tulsi. Revered in traditional medicine for centuries, holy basil is known as an adaptogen, a plant believed to help the body manage stress more effectively. Brewed as tea, it's also been used to support immune function and ease mild respiratory discomfort. In many households, a cup of tulsi tea in the morning is treated less like a remedy and more like a daily ritual. It loves heat and sun, much like its cousin sweet basil, and grows easily from seed in a sunny pot or garden bed during the warmer months. Keep pinching off the flower buds and the plant will keep producing fresh, fragrant leaves all season long. Number 12. Feverfew. This small, daisy-like plant has one very specific superpower. It's one of the most researched natural remedies for reducing the frequency and severity of migraines when the leaves are taken regularly, either fresh or dried into tea or capsules. People who deal with chronic headaches often grow a few feverfew plants specifically for this reason, and nothing else. Feverfew grows readily in full sun to partial shade and tends to self-seed, meaning once you plant it, you'll likely have it coming back year after year without replanting. Just be aware that chewing the fresh leaves can occasionally cause mouth irritation in some people, so tea or capsules are usually the gentler route. Number 13. Valerian. If chamomile is the gentle nudge toward sleep, valerian is the stronger push. The root has been used for centuries as a natural sedative, often brewed into tea or taken as a tincture to ease insomnia and anxiety before bed. It's one of the oldest documented sleep remedies in herbal history, with records going back well over 1,000 years. Be warned, the root has a strong, earthy smell that not everyone loves, but the plant itself is easy to grow in full sun to partial shade with consistently moist soil. Because of its sedative strength, it's best used occasionally rather than as a nightly habit, and definitely not combined with other sleep aids without checking with a doctor first. Number 14. Lemongrass. Lemongrass is a powerhouse for digestion, traditionally used to ease bloating, cramps, and nausea when steeped into a citrusy tea. It also has natural antimicrobial properties that make it useful in supporting immune health during cold season, and its bright, refreshing flavor makes it one of the more pleasant medicinal teas to actually look forward to drinking. This is a true heat lover, thriving in full sun with warm temperatures, and it grows into tall, grassy clumps that you can simply snip from whenever you need a stalk. In cooler climates, it grows beautifully in a large pot that you can bring indoors before the first frost. Number 15. Plantain, the weed, not the banana. This one surprises almost everyone, because plantain isn't something you plant. It's probably already growing in your yard right now as a so-called weed. Crushed fresh plantain leaves applied directly to insect bites, small cuts, or stings have a long folk history of reducing itching, swelling, and speeding up healing, and old-timers used to call it nature's Band-Aid for exactly that reason. If you don't already have it, it grows from seed in almost any soil condition and tolerates being walked on, which is exactly why it shows up in lawns everywhere. Before you spray it with weed killer next time, take a second look. You might be standing on one of the most useful plants on this entire list. Common mistakes people make with medicinal herbs. Now that you've got the list, let me save you from a few mistakes I see constantly, because growing these herbs and actually getting the benefit from them are two different skills. The first mistake is overwatering. Most of these plants come from dry, rocky, sun-baked regions of the world, and giving them rich soil and daily watering, the kind of care you'd give a tomato plant, actually weakens them and dilutes the very compounds you're growing them for. The second mistake is harvesting at the wrong time. Most herbs have their strongest concentration of active compounds right before they flower, in the cool of the morning after the dew has dried but before the heat of the day. Picking leaves in the middle of a hot afternoon, or after the plant has already gone to seed, gives you a much weaker product. The third mistake is poor drying and storage. Fresh herbs are wonderful, but if you want a year-round supply, you need to dry them properly. hung upside down in small bundles in a dark, dry space, then stored in an airtight jar away from light. Herbs left in a damp spot or exposed to sunlight lose their potency within weeks instead of lasting for months. Putting it all together. Now let me tie this into something you can actually act on, because 15 herbs can feel overwhelming if you try to plant all of them at once. Start small. Pick 3 or 4 that solve problems you actually deal with. If you struggle to sleep, start with chamomile, lavender, and valerian. If digestion is your issue, start with peppermint, lemon balm, and lemongrass. If headaches are a regular battle, feverfew deserves a spot on its own. And if you want a beginner-proof starter bed that's almost impossible to kill, sage, thyme, and rosemary will survive almost anything you throw at them, including forgetting they exist for 2 weeks straight. Most of these herbs share the same basic preferences: full sun, soil that drains well, and water only when the top inch of soil feels dry. Resist the urge to overwater and overfeed, because just like with so many other plants, these herbs build their strongest medicinal compounds when they're grown a little lean, not pampered. Group your aggressive spreaders, the mints, the lemon balm, into containers so they don't take over your whole garden bed, and let your tougher, woodier herbs like sage, rosemary, and thyme share a sunny, dry corner where they'll genuinely thrive together. Within a single season, that strip of empty dirt or that sad patch of lawn can become a working pharmacy you can walk out to barefoot, snip a few leaves from, and steep into a cup of tea that actually does something for you, instead of just decorating your windowsill. So here's what I want you to do right now. Pick the 3 herbs from this list that solve a problem you're dealing with today, and go find seeds or a small starter plant for them this week. Let me know in the comments which ones you're starting with, and which of these 15 you're most surprised to learn is medicinal. If this gave you a reason to finally do something with that empty patch of dirt, do me a quick favor and hit that like button, because it genuinely helps this channel reach other gardeners who want a garden that works as hard as they do. And make sure you subscribe and tap the bell. Now go plant something that heals.